because this is the dream team. This is the team that has put together a really fun event on April 11th through Raleigh Durham Startup Week. It's all about talking to women, with women, and people who support women about how to really build space for women within the startup community, both here in the Raleigh-Durham area, as well as larger in the ecosystem of startups. I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves. I'm Rachel. I am a marketing executive for hire, so I do that part-time, and then also a leadership coach. And I have been in this area for 14 years. I've been in marketing that entire time, working with companies locally and companies based here, but locations other places. And I'm really excited that we get to have this conversation with both of you. Who wants to go next?
Yeah, I'll go. I'm in the middle here, so like go with the flow. I'm Gina Torres Perryman. I'm local in Durham. I'm 1.5 years into my entrepreneurial journey. I am a life design coach, helping women design beautiful lives that they love living. And so I'm super pumped to be part of this dream team, bringing women together throughout the triangle, talking about lots of different aspects of being founders, business owners, entrepreneur, like all of the things. And also to having that little networking aspect. I know I was introducing myself, but let me add a little zhuzh to, to the event.
I love it.
Raven, over to you.
Hello, everyone. This is actually broadcasting to my LinkedIn page. So for those of you tuning in, thank you. I'm Raven O'Neill. I am a business strategist and a podcaster and a creative. I am excited to take this journey with these ladies and explain what we're up to.
Yeah, and for those of you that want to bounce right from the beginning, because I get it, time is tight, and you're like, what is this? I don't care. I'm going to give you the deets now, and I'll give you the deets later. So if you want to join us for this in-depth conversation, this is just a preview, you should go to RaleighDurhamStartupWeek.com and apply there for attendance. It's free, which is great. But then make that one more step and go and tell us you're coming by saying you're coming on the agenda. It's Friday at 9:30 on April 11th through Raleigh Durham Startup Week. But let's take it back high level. And Raven, I'm going to start with you. So I got connected because of you, and you actually hosted the first event last year for Raleigh Durham Startup Week. Tell us a little bit about why you decided to do something then and where this kind of evolves from.
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. I appreciate it. So last year, I signed up for Raleigh Durham Startup Week. I had been involved with San Diego Startup Week when I lived there for a very long time. I was excited to see a startup week, and I registered, looked at the agenda, and then just kind of kept up with the app, which is on Whova. And as I was going through that process, I noticed that there were not that many women attendees. And those that were attending didn't have a ton of women-centric content to consume while being there. So I thought, what better way to connect women than to just host this little tiny coffee meet and greet? Low lift, very easy, date, location, come network with other women that are attending the event. And so I did that. I met you two lovely ladies there. Actually, I'd met Gina before, but we strengthened our relationship there. And we just all met, had a little coffee and breakfast, and had a little circle. I think like 10 or 15 women showed up, and we just all got to network and get to know each other.
Yeah, it was honestly, I think the first time I really realized there was like a whole network here in this area, just women wanting to support other women and get connected. So I was so excited. I was like pumped about, yeah, it was like one of the highlights of the week last year for me.
I will say it's amazing how, Raven and I knowing each other and then meeting you, and then the relationships that have built and just like how we've grown, and then, bringing this back. Rachel, you wanted to bring this back and asking us to, be a part of this. So that was really exciting.
Yeah, I had this thought in the fall because I was looking at, as an entrepreneur, as somebody who owns their own business, it can be really isolating, right? And it's hard sometimes to feel like the things that you struggle with are the things that other people struggle with. And I think that there's an added complexity with the industry that we're in of startup world, because it is historically been dominated by more of that male presence. And so I don't think that the things women struggle with are always different than what men struggle with, right? We're gonna need to build teams and businesses and get funded and all the things that like are just common to business. But there is a uniquely different perspective of someone who embraces what that looks like from the unique challenges that I have as a woman in life, or, family, or whatever. And so as I was thinking about all of this, it was really born from just a desire to be connected. And I originally started thinking like, oh, I could just do something on my own, not even connected to, the startup week, but just putting together a networking event, and maybe people would come and maybe they wouldn't. And as I started really thinking about it, I realized that there was no one better to shepherd this forward than Raven, because she had done it last year. And then Gina is like the person that knows everybody and makes everybody feel so good. And so it just felt like a really perfect combination to not have to even go this alone, which was the whole point, was to not be alone. And so that was that was kind of the burden of it all in the fall.
You really up-leveled it though, because when you approached us about it, I'm thinking, yeah, sure, I could host another little coffee meet and greet. Why not? You're like, no, but I have bigger visions. So without you, it probably would have been the same thing as last year, but instead it's now this whole sidecar event. It's got networking, it's got a panel. It became a whole thing, and that's all thanks to your input.
I feel like it's a lot of credit, but you know what? I'm someone who goes too far and needs people to hold her back. So I love that you guys are like, no, this is great. Let's do it. But let's talk about that. So the topic, let's start there. We had a lot of conversations about what we really wanted to talk about. And we landed on the title, More Than a Seat at the Table, Building Real Space for Women in Startups. So why? What is that topic to us that we think the broader community would be interested in it?
I would like to start. So Raven's the one that told me about Startup Week last year, and I didn't really even know this was happening. And so I'm like, oh, I want to go. But when I signed up and was going, I'm like, is this for like tech founders? Do I belong here? So it was this sort of, and being a new entrepreneur, I was like, is this a space even for me? And so I had to actually work through that and like talk with a friend, another coach that was attending. And so it's like, yes. So I think in this space and these other spaces that are available to entrepreneurs, founders, startups broadly, that it's open to, people like me that feel like, oh, I'm a coach over here, like, starting my business. And so yes. So being open to and feeling accepted in this space. And I think just being reminded that, yes, I do belong here was really helpful for me.
I think that's a really important note, is that this isn't meant just for people that are in a startup business. It's for the ecosystem of people that are in it or support it. I think that's a really good place to start.
Yeah.
It's a whole ecosystem component. It's everything from the systems and structures and the people that run them to support it, plus the startup founders and the investors that fund them. It's a whole ecosystem.
Yeah. I saw something on my LinkedIn earlier that took everything in my power not to respond to. But there was a gentleman who had posted something about how there is a very popular platform who provides you 2-day shipping of items to the world. And it had on the top bar navigation promoted women-owned businesses in 2 different locations. And his post talked about how, men aren't given the same opportunities. And not only is it here to highlight a specific kind of demographic, there's 2 spots that support it, and kind of going down this thing. And I, really honestly, I was really surprised, because even with the things that are being discussed in the world at large right now, it feels like we've normalized certain parts of the conversation. Like, it almost feels like we've all agreed on certain things. Like, yes, there is generally a difference between like men and women. Yes, there is generally different struggles that they face, or like, yes, the glass ceiling. Like, some of these big concepts feel like they've been agreed upon for a decade or more now. And so, even though take that same majority minority conversation, and that's not true for all kinds of things, right? I want to acknowledge that, and not in all places. And seeing this as part of an active conversation today was really jarring for me. And I think that for me, this is where this conversation feels so perfectly timed, because I think that sometimes we so focus on the macro experience of, we're building a community, we're building a business, we're building this next great solution, and we forget that there's still things that matter under that, of how we treat people or how we respond, what our biases are, how the world is shaping around or with those things. And we forget that those can also have huge, significant impacts on these macro things we're creating. And that is part of the conversation I'm really hoping to have at our Friday conversation, because that to me is more than just a seat at the table. It's really the conversation about, how do you get there? And does it matter to have one? And do you need more? And is it a done conversation? We shouldn't be having it anymore. These things that I think is good for us to ideate on and consider.
And that's why you're moderating.
I like it. I know I am really excited. Yes, I am moderating it. We're going to have 3 other panelists that are really great. We're going to talk about them in a second. But Raven, I know you haven't gotten a chance to take your take on the topic. What do you hope we cover?
I mean, I'm hoping we cover the same things that you're going to talk about anyway. That's, again, why you're moderating it. But I will take it back that we had a lot of discussions on what this looked like from the beginning. And I did love our evolution, because at first I was gung-ho, like, we have to have a man on the panel, we have to have their viewpoint. And we realized that the conversation is central to the woman's experience. And if that's the case, then maybe we don't need a man. So I love how we ended up where we did, and the fact that it is open to everyone, but it is centered on the woman's experience. And the people we're bringing in to have the conversation from all these different parts of the ecosystem to really talk about what that looks like for a community standpoint. What does it look like to build a community? And, I'm sure this is probably, I just love to make assumptions left and right all over the place, but I'm sure that it's not a problem. I don't want to say problem. I don't want to say maybe a challenge in other places. But one thing here where we are in North Carolina in the Research Triangle, there are a lot of different places women in business can play, but I don't feel any of them speak to each other. And there's like a lot of disconnect. And that's where the conversation I think I'm most excited about, is that it is fragmented. There is a lot of opportunity, but where do you even start? Where do you go? How do you find where you fit in? And having the conversation on how do we build an ecosystem that works for everyone.
Fragmented. So I'm like, can you speak more to that, either of you? Like, what does that look like, or what could it be? I guess I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but
no, that's
you can
good.
speak to it more. Okay.
So when I first moved here looking to connect with more women in business, I found several super Christian focused groups, which, if that's your jam, I love it. They have, join that group. That's not really my thing. I don't want it to be centered on my business and Christianity. That's just not my jam. So I just wanted a more, what is the word, neutral, I guess, experience, but still centered on women in business. And so I found a lot of groups that were not necessarily women focused. They were just focused in startup or in business, small business. And then again, I found several groups that were women's Christian business groups. I wasn't finding what I was looking for. So there were all these different ones. Wouldn't it be great if there was a central location to even start, you go there, you're like, this is what I'm looking for, and they know, oh, X, Y, and Z. I have not been, shame on me. There are SBDCs, Small Business Development Centers, for anyone tuning in that doesn't know. They usually have those connections and can at least point you in a direction. I didn't do my homework. I haven't asked that question of them, but that's really where that came from. Fragmented is in there, all these little tiny groups, and these little groups don't necessarily come together.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think your observation, I don't want you to undercut your observation, because when we search for something, typically digitally now, we only get results based on the question we ask. And that was actually something that was really highlighted for me last year. A particular person that I know kept saying this to me because we'd have conversations about random things. And he was like, no. The answers you get, we were specifically talking about like Siri, right? Like the way that the AI bot or whatever gives you answers, but like the way you ask the question is equally important in order to get the answer you're looking for. And if we don't know the question to ask, I didn't know SBDC existed until you and I had that conversation a few weeks ago. So if I don't know the question to ask, I don't get the right answers, which I think is part of the fragmentation. There's not a centralized area for women who want to get connected to whatever sliver of the business that they want to highlight, whether it's business plus religion, business plus networking, business plus investing,
Parenting.
business plus finances, right? Whatever the thing is, if we don't know what question to ask, we're still not going to get the right answers. Or at least answers in general. I don't know what a right answer would be in that context, but. Yeah.
So talk to us, Rachel, a little bit about the dynamic of the conversation we're going to be having. Do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm very excited about this conversation. And I think part of it for me is context of where we're having it. So we're having it in or as part of the Raleigh-Durham Startup Week. So it's really supported by the community before we even get there, which I think is a really important acknowledgement to have. I'm really excited about the panelists that we're going to have. There's such a wide variety of perspectives and people that have lots of experience here in this area. And so we have Amanda Stockwell, who owns her own business, has been part of a women's UX meetup for several years running that. She teaches at Duke as part of the, not engineering, what is it? The entrepreneur school. She is like great, engaging, lovely. And I'm looking forward to that perspective of like academics meets practical business meets like the solopreneur. We have Kenyatta Hall, who is the CEO of Catalyst HQ. She is so dynamic. I've seen her speak a couple times. She has such an engagement, a really unique perspective on having actually built a business of more than just her in this area and what that looks like for people that come in and out. She's also part of the, like, I feel like there's a delineation of like the ecosystem of startup, and then like there's like startup, and she's in that startup. So if we have like niche questions, niche experiences that we want to pull out, she is going to be so great with that. And then we have our final panelist, who I'm also selfishly very excited about, mostly because I am obsessed with coffee. Okay, perfect. It's Aurelie Barrera Gradeschi. She is the owner. Is she a co-owner? That I can't remember, but of Cocoa Cinnamon. And Cocoa Cinnamon is like a Durham staple favorite. She has multiple sites now. Mm-hmm. She also has at least a connection into a roasting company. I'm not sure. I should look up.
Pretty sure she founded that.
Yeah. Founded that too. Yeah. Okay. That's good job.
We didn't do our homework there. We're just like so excited.
No, I was like, I know. I was honestly just so excited about the coffee part. I was like, coffee and churros. I love them so much. But the thing I love about this is that I think sometimes our local businesses and economies get overlooked as not part of that startup mentality, when really all the same ingredients that it takes to be in the tech startup world is applicable and needed to start your own local business of a permanent store or a retail or a storefront or whatever that looks like. And so and she has been in business for a long time, like I think at least a decade at this point. And so in this specific area. And so I think that the different perspectives we have coming to the table are so well-rounded for what it really looks like to be in this area, not just in startup, and what the startup mentality means laid on top of lots of different kinds of ways that you would consider yourself part of this ecosystem. And so I'm really excited to be able to facilitate that conversation, take questions from the crowd, get their perspectives on how we make more room and how we really connect better, and what it's going to take for us to make Raleigh, Durham area part of a centralized conversation when it comes to startups in the US, because that's what I feel like we should do. So I'm just going to throw that question in there and see what they have in their little like magic 8-ball.
I just want to add that it's Little Waves Coffee Roasters that are Raleigh founded.
Their coffee is really good.
Shout out to that. And I know I saw her at Creative Mornings speak there, and she has a very powerhouse story just as a woman of color and in this industry and all the work that she's done there. And so that just really adds to this conversation. So yeah, it's going to be super exciting. And also I know some of the women that are actually going to come attend are doing things in the community and our space. So also that's going to just add to this conversation and the experience we're going to have together. Yeah.
Yay. I want to highlight that it's not just the conversation, that we are having two sets of intentional networking. Gina's going to lead one.
Yes.
And the other one is Get Help, which is we are hoping to actually actively support at least 4 major questions that the women attending have. So it's not just the panel, but the panel is the highlight.
The more I talk about this, the more I'm like, what a kick-ass event. Like, who doesn't want to be here? I'm like, I can't wait. And I'm so proud of us and excited for all the pieces that are coming together. I think it's just going to be such a rich time. Yeah.
It is going to be rich. I like that.
That is the perfect end to this, I feel like. So this, once again, these are the details. So April 11th. Friday, April 11th at Raleigh Founded. Come be part of our networking to get connected, be part of the conversation through the panel. Come participate, listen, engage, and it's open to everybody. All you have to do is register for free at RaleighDurhamStartupWeek.com. And then as a courtesy to us, just that we can make sure that if we get nibbles and bites and things that we can like share prolifically, you just click that you're going to attend. And then that way we know to expect you and we have enough space and seats and plans to let everybody really engage well together. That's it.
Love the conversation.
Can't wait to see you there.
I'm going to give it sparkles.
Absolutely. I add to that.
All right. We'll see you all soon then.